like to call this meeting to order. Our first order of business is the Pledge of Allegiance, if you join me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And at this time, I'd like to call upon Councilman Bond to lead us in our invocation.
We all bow our heads, please. Oh, Heavenly Father, we come to Thee this afternoon to say thank you. Thank you for all the blessings that you have shined upon each one of us in our little town of Edenton. Please give this council the knowledge to do things correct, to make our town more safer, cleaner, and beautiful, and a beautiful place to travel and visit. Bless the council, even though we may disagree on certain things, but to stick together and give each person a chance to express their own opinion and come up with the best problem solving for our little town. Father, we'd like to ask your blessing for those folks that's out in Southern California that homes are being burnt, neighborhoods are being ravaged. Please protect them and guide them as we keep them in our prayers. In Jesus' name, I say amen.
Amen. Thank you, Councilman Bond. Normally, the next item on our agenda would be the review and approval of minutes of December's meetings. Due to the holidays, we do not have those minutes ready for council to review and approve, and we'll probably do that at our next meeting if we can. Okay. All right, we'll do that at our regular meeting in February. The next agenda item is public comment. I think we have 3 speakers signed up tonight. Just would like to remind the speakers that your comments are limited to 3 minutes per speaker. Our first speaker is Hal Murray. Hal? Yes, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Mr. Mayor, distinguished members of the Town Council, I appreciate the Council's work before them, not to mention that you were recently cited in a lawsuit for the movement of the statue for the monument. That notwithstanding, I have 2 public record requests that have languished for months now. One has to do with the EPC and proper notification of properties within 200 feet of a working site, not simply adjoining properties as in the days of Elizabeth Bryant. The other inquiries about the purchase of the Crestwell parking lot. It was originally submitted October 11th of 2024, 4 months ago. And my question is, when might I receive the public record report? On July 26, 2024, Destination Downtown Edenton, now operating under the name of Main Street Edenton, purchased a Crestwell parking lot for $235,000. January through June, the town of Edenton made payments to downtown Edenton of $6,000, $250 each month. July through December, the payments to Destination Downtown were doubled to $12,500 a month. Why was a step change in payments made to Destination Downtown Edenton? What is the reasoning behind increasing the town's donation to Main Street Edenton to $12,500 a month from the $6,000? Was this payment increase in any way, directly or indirectly, related to Destination Downtown's purchase of the Crestwell parking lot? The timing is coincidental. How much was Mr. Chesson paid in 2024? What is Mr. Chesson's 2025 salary? He is an appointed official by the town from town funds. And lastly, how much is Timmy Turner paid by Destination Downtown through Destination Downtown or through funds? Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you, Hal.
Yes, sir.
Our next speaker is John Grant. JD?
Mr. Mayor, Councilman, Happy New Year to everybody. Hope everybody had a good holiday. The first thing I'd like to say is I would like to dovetail a little bit on the Timmy Turner issue. I'd like to thank Mr. Chesson for hiring him He has done an amazing job of highlighting businesses downtown. He recently highlighted my wife's business, and she has seen a huge uptick in customers because of that. Next, I'd like to ask if Saga has signed the agreement that was made months ago. And the last thing I'd like to ask is any updates on the property that the town bought off Code Avenue. Is anything being done to develop that property for the low-income housing or housing for the town? Thank you.
Thank you, JD. Our normal procedure is, unless something can be answered very quickly and very easily, that Mr. Gooden will give us a report and you a report on those items at our next meeting in February. I can say an easy answer to your one question: Saga has signed the permit, and that was just a couple of days after our last meeting. Our next speaker is Jimmy Alligood. Jimmy, oh, I didn't see you over there.
I was hiding.
How you doing?
Doing good, thank you. It's been a long time since I've been up there. Couple of questions, I don't know whether I can ask them or what the situation is, but I'm gonna make a few comments. Back in the early 80s, the town of Edenton was supposed to have joined the Electric Cities Corporate. We did join, and it was, the way I understood that time, it was supposed to be paid off in about 20 years. Was that ever paid off? Has it been paid off? I was told last year, during the swearing-in ceremony, it would be paid off this past year. And the comment I want to know, if it was paid off, when will electric bills start being dropped? I've heard a lot of complaints lately about electrical bills going up and being higher than they seem to be, should be, or whatever. But if we are paid off, the money that we're paying monthly or yearly or whatever should be deducted from the electrical bills that we've been paying. Thank you.
Thank you, Jimmy.
Yeah.
And I think this is your first time that you've come before us in a while, and just as I mentioned earlier,
Yeah.
what we've been doing is we've been allowing our manager the opportunity to research questions, and he'll report back to us if you're here at our next meeting, and if you're not, we'll make sure that gets to you.
Thank you very much. Appreciate
Thank you,
it.
Jim. Would you like to speak?
I would.
Okay. All right, our Susan Ingles, come forward.
Thank you. My apologies that I'm late. So not officially signed up, but Susan Ingles, 101 East Water Street, and I rise to share a thought. I find it unfortunate that the council's planning meeting is, I understand, yet again, planned for Martin Luther King Day. And that means, I believe, that none of you, councilors or mayor, will be able to attend.
Can I interrupt you?
Please.
Okay. Last year, I believe that the MLK celebration had been put on pause for several years due to COVID. And we received late notice of the event, and Councilman Bond, Councilman Costin, and I did attend the event over our lunch break
Yeah.
with the council retreat.
Yeah.
Immediately after that MLK event, I reached out to Town Manager Gooden and expressed to him that we ought to be more intentional about attending that event.
Mm-hmm.
And I proposed that in the future, we try to see where the event was going to be held
Mm-hmm.
and see if that event location had sufficient space for us to have our retreat
Mm-hmm.
during the day, and as a lunch break, then come out into the sanctuary and attend the event.
Yeah.
So we followed up on that request in December and followed up on it in early January, and I'm pleased to report that we will be holding our retreat at the event location, and at lunch break, we'll come in and attend the MLK celebration.
Excellent. Thank you.
I didn't mean to
See
cut
you
you off,
there.
but I saw
See
where
you
you were headed.
there.
Okay, thank you. Okay, our next agenda item is a special presentation. We have with us tonight Carolyn Osell. Karen is here on behalf of the Edenton Women's Club, and she's going to give us an overview of the upcoming Pilgrimage of Homes event, which we normally assist in providing trolley and shuttle services. So Carolyn, if you'll share with us.
Thank you. Good evening, Mr. Mayor and members of the Town Council. As Mayor High said, my name is Carolyn Osell, and I'm here on behalf of the Edenton Women's Club. We have our biannual pilgrimage of homes, and it is coming up this year, 2025, for the weekend of April 11th and 12th. That's a Friday and Saturday. And this has been a major fundraiser for the pilgrimage and for the Women's Club, and exposes many locals as well as draws in many visitors to Edenton. We currently have 20 homes on the tour, and we have a general map of where they are going to be located. We're still fine-tuning some of those things, but to give you a little background on the Women's Club, our local group was founded in 1947, but it is part of the General Federation of Women's Clubs, which goes back as far as 1890. We are a service organization, and our focus here in Edenton is mainly the preservation and restoration of historic Edenton. We also support a number of community groups. We have arts and culture, educational libraries, environment, and health and wellness committees that are involved throughout the community. And we have been, we produced the 4 very important books to Edenton's history. You may be familiar with the architectural portrait by Thomas Butchko, another one he did, Between the River and Sound, along with Bradley Barker, a walking tour of historic Eden, and the Elizabeth Van Moore guidebook. So these are all have become important references to people doing studies here in Edenton. I'm here tonight to request the use of the town trolley and the town van and their drivers, and you have been very supportive of that in the past. We will have people walking from home to home. Most homes are within walking distance. We also have a horse and wagon team that will be going around some of the streets closer to town, but they don't cover the whole area. So the hours of the tour are from 10 to 4 on Friday, April 11th, and Saturday, April 12th. And we would just greatly appreciate the support of the town in this endeavor. Anyone have any questions on that? Yes.
Have you added any newer homes to this? Any newer homes coming on board?
Yes. We have a few that have been open in the past, including Mr. Dixon's home, but we do have quite a few newer ones too. That will be the first year on the tour.
I got a quick question. Can the trolley go over the new weight limits on because Hayes is gonna be open, yeah.
Right,
So we gotta figure that piece of it out.
Well, what we are planning on doing at this point is the senior center is loaning us the vans that they use.
Okay.
So we're gonna shuttle them using those vans, which won't be as heavy.
And we can talk about parking over there too.
Oh, yeah, yes, we do
Yeah,
need to
just
get-
get up with me.
Yeah, we are looking.
We're glad
at
you're
that.
gonna use it. It's gonna be
Oh,
great,
yes,
yeah.
that's gonna be the highlight, yeah.
Hope the weather's good for you too.
Oh, yes, yeah, April can be a little tricky.
Okay, any more questions or comments regarding this request? And before we don't need to take any action on this, it's just an administrative level decision, is that correct?
Okay,
Well, Carolyn, thank you
right,
for
thank you.
coming forward tonight, and thank you for your giving of your time
Oh,
to
yeah.
help this event.
Right.
We appreciate it very
Yeah,
much.
thank you for your time.
The next agenda item is committee appointments, and we have a vacancy on the Edenton Preservation Commission board, and we're fortunate enough to have 2 applicants for that one vacancy, and many times we're searching for applicants that we can appoint. So that's certainly a good thing that we have people interested in wanting to assist us on this particular committee. Our 2 applicants are Wade Rogers and Hal Murray. I think both of them are present tonight. And what we normally do is we have the applicants come forward and talk to us about their background and experience, in this case, in preservation matters, and also their reasons for wanting to be appointed to the particular board and why they think they would be a board member. And we typically handle this, having each applicant come forward and make their comments in that regard, and then we open it up to council to have any questions or comments to either of these candidates, and then at that point in time, we would ask for a motion and a second on one or the other of the nominations. So Wade Rogers, if you're here, come forward. And again, if you can speak to us about your backgrounds and background experience and qualifications in the preservation arena, and then the reasons why you would like to be appointed to this board.
Okay, so I have a long-standing interest in preservation and historic trades. As very young, I started working as a blacksmith and carpenter at Tryon Palace, doing historic trades, and that got me into eventually finding my way into historic houses. And finding historic houses, I really respect the integrity of the original materials that were used to build these houses. And I like to, with the preservation mindset, keep those materials with the house, so they kind of tell the story and the history of the house. Just losing my train of thought. But so I also was the chair of the Bath Historic Commission, the one that we did all of the approved for the same thing as Edenton on the Historic Commission of Bath. And so we bought a house on Church Street. That's probably the best example. Rather than just wholesale gutting the house or gutting the plaster, I was patching plaster, just trying to find intrusive methods to retrofit the house to a modern life, but also save as much material as possible. And that's just my goal. And when I approach a house, is not what can I take out of a house to make it suit my needs. It's just what can I keep to make sure it has its integrity for good.
What were some of your job duties as chairman of the Historic District Committee in Bath?
So we would just get presented projects throughout town, fences, sheds, or whole remodels, and we'd have to go and just approve or deny based on our guidelines there in Bath. But we also had to do a good bit of research. If someone was, say, adding a new porch to a house, we would have to, I'd go to the town library and look at photographs of that said house and see if there was a possible photo of that porch and hand that to the contractor as our recommendation for best practices and what to copy.
And I think you tell us about your family. You're moving here, and your wife also is in the history business.
She is,
So
yeah.
tell them about that.
My wife, Laura Rogers, just took over as a site manager for Historic Edenton, and so we are moving here on East Church Street with our 10-year-old daughter. So,
And what projects are you working on in Edenton right now?
just a few of them. Working on Andrew MD and I are working on Hayes. We're the consultants at the Hayes project, making sure that we work in tandem with the contractor to make sure that what's happening at Hayes is in the direction of the state of North Carolina and the Elizabeth Ann Moore Foundation, but also researching Hayes and making sure the historic integrity of the project still stands, especially as a national project, but also there's the Kupla House. Andrew and I are also consultants at the Kupla House, and also consultants at Kadish.
And you recently went to New York.
And yeah, we recently went to New York and brought the Kupla House woodwork back, which is one of the best jobs I've ever had. One of the funnest jobs we had.
I have a question for you. In your application, you cited potential conflict, which I'm assuming is some of those that you named? How do you plan to handle those?
I would just excuse myself from the vote, and I had to do that plenty of times in Bath, because in Bath, my wife ran the historic site there. The historic site in Bath is much larger, or the town is much smaller, the historic site's about the same size, so there's a lot of times where I'd have to excuse myself if we were voting on something that had to do with my wife's site.
Gotcha.
But I imagine there would be some instances where I'd be consulting on a private residence in town, and I would just have to say that.
Gotcha. And have you already moved into a house on Church Street, or?
No, not quite yet.
Okay.
You're working on that house now, correct?
Mm-hmm, yep, yes, currently.
Any other comments or questions as to this applicant? Okay, Mr. Rogers, thank you.
All right, thanks.
Al Murray, come forward.
Well, this is going to come perhaps a little bit unexpected, but just having listened to Wade and his background and his experience, I would, at this point, withdraw my nomination, or withdraw my request to be on the position here, and hope that you would, acknowledge him and move him forward on the commission. Thank you.
Thank you, and Hal, thank you for applying. I made the comment earlier, and I'd speak to everyone out there and speak to everyone that's listening in. Thank you for applying, and a lot of times we have to wait until we get enough applicants
Certainly.
to even, and we didn't have to do that in this case. And thank you, Mr. Rogers, for applying. It was actually pleasant to have more applicants than the position open.
Yeah, he's got a background that I can't touch.
Well, thank you, Hal.
Mayor, we do not have a third that's in our packet.
That person, I think, withdrew their name and is gonna look at something, another board or commission where she might be better suited, I think, is the case.
That's right, and we will, Mayor, we will take a look at a handful of other vacancies that we have on the 27th, and Ms. Chatham had requested to change her application.
Since we now only have one applicant, we still need to appoint Mr. Rogers, so I would, we got a motion and a second? Do we have a second? Okay, all in favor of appointing Wade Rogers to the vacancy on the Edenton Preservation Commission, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That appointment is made, and Mr. Rogers, thank you again for bringing your expertise to town.
Thank you.
And if you'll come forward now, we do have to swear you in as a newest member.
We're really
Just
lucky to
stay.
have, we're lucky to have him.
I was looking for a Bible.
Yeah. Well, we'll just have you raise your hand and swear or affirm, but Corey, you may have one. And Mr. Rogers, I've been sworn in and sworn at many times before, and I'm gonna make it easy for you. I am going to read the oath and just ask you to swear and affirm with the words "I do" at the end.
Okay.
Instead of me repeating like a line and you having to remember everything. I've been on both sides of this,
Okay.
and I have found that the way I'm about to do it is much easier for you.
Okay.
Okay? Yeah, place your left hand on the Bible, raise your right hand. And again, I'm going to read the oath to you, and if you do so swear and affirm, I would just ask that you say "I do" at the end, okay? Do you solemnly and sincerely swear and affirm that you will support the Constitution and laws of the United States, that you will be faithful and bear true allegiance to the state of North Carolina, and to the constitutional powers and authorities which are or may be established for the government thereof, that you will endeavor to support, maintain, and defend the Constitution and laws of said state, not inconsistent with the Constitution of the United States, to the best of your knowledge and ability, and that you will faithfully discharge the duties of your office as a member of the Edenton Preservation Commission Board, so help you God.
I swear.
Thank you. You're official now.
Congratulations.
Appreciate it.
Congratulations. He's gonna be great.
Okay, our next order of, or our next agenda item is our new business agenda item. And Corey, I'm going to hand it over to you. This is discussion of the Harbor Town's lease and other matters related to Harborstown, if you will.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mayor. I did receive a question at the last meeting on December 10th about an update on the Harbortown lease, and had no update at that time. But I did want to share that I had met on January 6th with the folks from Harbortown regarding the lease, and also as far as an update on the overall project. We did discuss some of the concerns the council had to begin with, and they did indicate that they would be, this would be their first full season, and it would allow them to consider a more in-depth financial review of the program and any acceptable overhead. They did also agree with the idea of giving a one-year term to the lease to allow for that type of financial review to happen. We also talked about revisiting some of the docking improvements that we should see earlier in March. We received an update on that as well. That's for the loading and unloading of any of the passengers for those vessels. And we also did get a clear indication from them that the audit had came back favorable for the group, and that the organization had received the state funding for each of the towns. I had a discussion this past week with the city manager over in Hereford about that as well. I guess we were not the only ones hearing some of that. One thing I did want to reiterate to the board is that we do need to consider this group as another one of our local nonprofit organizations that we partner with to really try to enhance our local tourism economy here. Also, I did want to share, we received an email yesterday. We're working with the TDA, the Main Street, the Chamber, as well as the other 4 harbor towns to create a full master list of all the events that are happening locally, so we can really try to get a full season. I know that Main Street did work with them late summer, early fall this year, and we actually had a handful of successful events on this first kind of partial season. And so at this time, again, I am recommending that council consider the one-year grace period of the lease as presented with the original pricing that was discussed previously when this was a 5-year lease.
How many employees do they have that were coming into the building?
I don't know the exact answer because some of it would be some of the voting staff to have a space there to meet. There would also be some of the restroom for inclement weather or anything like that, but it's also included in that space. And we were advised there would be a local group here helping with the sales, but an exact total count, I don't know the exact number of all employees in every town, because some of the employees we haven't seen because they may live in Elizabeth City and help with docking of the operations.
If they grow bigger, is that enough space, or?
And I think that's some of their concerns around the one-year term to allow to see what their growth is and what things they need to improve on with their employees. So I don't know that answer. That's why they also opted for the one-year time period to see just how much they grow. But I do want to remind you that, over the life of this project, since the inception, that Edenton has always been that home port. And so at some point in the future, if they do grow, they would still be housed here as the home dock.
In the future, do you think that there will be satellite offices at the other locations?
And if I can, this generated a lot of discussion at our previous meeting, and just so we're proper on our procedure, we normally have a motion and a second, and then have opened it up to discussions and questions. So for us to be proper about that, I would entertain a motion and a second, and then we'll have full discussion and
So
questions.
moved.
We've got a motion, do we have a second? Now, before we vote, as many questions and discussions as you guys need, so I didn't mean to cut you off,
Future,
Red.
any about satellite offices at the other locations, or?
That's a possibility. It's all gonna be driven by, the number of events and just the kind of time over target at each location. And so as they grow and as events become, a higher in count at different towns, I can see that increasing. But as far as a home port, for fueling, for docking, and to have a visual presence here, we would be that flagship location, which is wonderful.
That's a real plus.
But I don't know, but, as this thing grows, there may be a smaller office need in the other towns, but we didn't go that far into discussion.
One concern that was voiced at our last meeting, we've heard about the $2 million that's going to be appropriated to improvements. We've heard it, but we haven't seen it. Can you give us a status report on that appropriation and
So that funding,
when we can expect it?
that funding was released to the organizations for the local improvements at each of the towns.
So we have that.
That's in the bank.
That was
Their account.
deposited for the Harbortown groups. Use with each of the towns for those improvements. When I talk about some of the improvements that we're
Is that
seeing-
in their bank
Yes.
account?
Yeah, when I see about some of the improvements between now and March that we discussed for the docking improvements, those will be some of the requests that they come back to us to share, that for the loading and unloading of the vessel, these are some initial costs that the towns are.
What about improvements, repairs, replacements to the underside of the breakwater?
So those were some of the first discussions. I did advise them, because of the costs, that we needed to really start with the lowest cost option to begin with some of the docking that's needed near the Barker House, to kind of try to keep things to a minimum. They were able to find a marine engineer that they're going to be working with on the correct improvements.
To that
To
particular
that,
part?
yes, yes.
And that comes out of the $2 million that's appropriated for us.
Yes, and if you remember, when the initial funding was allocated for each of these towns, one of the first precursors for those expenses was to allow for the improvements that are needed for the loading and unloading on those vessels. And we're fortunate that for us, our improvements to our harbor are minimum compared to what some of the other towns are facing, which is good news.
Corey, did you mention to them that some of us were not, we did not feel like the 125 was enough?
Yes, we did, and what we were able to really work on is the ask was to keep it at that amount and to go after a one-year term, to allow the first full season to really see what type of overhead that the organization could afford.
I think one of the things that we tasked her with was comprising some data that showed us what commercial retail to office space would be. Were you able to get that together for us?
Chess and I have had discussions about $1 per square foot, and we kind of have a range here, but we're going to think about it is a fairly large space, and we've seen ranges anywhere from $10 to $14 a square foot for a true for-profit business location in any of our downtown
Well,
spaces.
they are for-profit though.
Well, they're a nonprofit organization, and one thing that people get confused about when they hear nonprofit, that doesn't mean that they can't make a profit.
Correct.
That just means that any profit cannot be distributed to individual private owners or an owner.
Right.
That profit just sits there, and that was one of the ideas behind a one-year lease. Right now, they need our help, and they're giving us help. But if they are able to run this thing like they anticipate being able to do so, they will generate a profit. And at that point in time, I'd be willing to talk to them like, hey, you're not, a year ago, you didn't have much of a track record, didn't have much money in the bank, but it looks like you guys are doing well. We need to revisit this.
Yeah, and that was part of the discussion.
I think my concern is just in 5 years, that this project has been underway, so we got all the time to do all this planning. Then last year there was supposed to launch, and I guess they done like a soft launch, so I don't know. But we've had ample time to do as much planning and overhead expenses, including rent, that cost. So that's my only concern, and just rent is for so low. But I don't know, so maybe this will be the year after 5 years of planning that we see something.
Yeah, and I'm hopeful. I share the same hope. And right now, that's what it is. Councilman Costin, I hope.
Yeah.
If it works, it's gonna be great. I guess this is part of the faith in life.
As long as they know we're gonna keep asking them about this $2 million, I mean, we could, give them a chance, and I think Councilman Bond said it last time, we can give them the opportunity to start, but as long as they know, we're gonna keep asking.
Which we will.
Yes.
So at what point are they looking to release the $2 million per town?
So we should see some initial improvements and approval here for some of the docking improvements between now and March. And
They don't really release the money, they just take care of the payment themselves. It's not coming to us.
That's right, and so we can, they have the ability for, selecting vendors, and we have the ability
We don't
for
have
selecting, we have multiple ways to.
Will they be coming in and do quarterly updates with us?
We can at least ask, them to try to provide some, maybe 6-month and 12-month update.
I think we're gonna need that,
Yeah.
given
I'd like that.
Councilman Costin's concerns and Patrick, and Bob's concerns. And given just a short-term history of it, I would like to see a 6-month and a 12-month report to us, just so we can keep an eye on things.
Okay.
And so, for the major renovations, like the whole revamp, the new bathrooms and office space, when are we looking to see if some of that comes to fruition?
So that should be part of the updates. I think we should focus on getting the docking done initially, and then, once that's complete, continue on a parallel path of the other improvements that are associated with the landscape and anything.
What's the timeline for that? Is there one, has there been one set?
It would not really start till after the docking improvements, and those should be completed in the March timeframe. So at that point, I think we probably hear some ideas of the next set of improvements that the group would like to.
So you're looking at a priority list?
Yeah.
Okay.
Summer of 2025.
Yeah.
A priority list with timeframes.
I'm not excited about the 125, but if this helps them get moving, helps them start pushing forward, then we just have to live with it and decide after a year, was it worth it?
And that's why,
I know.
I think that sums
and
it
that's
up.
why, what was the
Right now, I'd
original?
say no, but
The original ask was what, for 3 or 5 year
It's a
lease?
5-year lease.
And we backed off of that
yeah,
for the reasons we've already stated.
I wouldn't give them 5 years and 125.
Yeah. And right now, I do view them as true partners, particularly with this 2 million. So I only have a vote if there's a tie, but I'm comfortable with it under the 1-year lease, semi-annual updates, and us continuing to stay on top of them. Thank you. Stay on top of them about moving forward with the improvements. Okay, any other further comments or questions before we call the vote? Okay, I'd like to express my appreciation to the town council for asking these questions and making us dig a little deeper on this issue, and I appreciate your involvement in this. At this time, we do have a motion and second. We fully discussed it. All in favor of the Harbortown lease as presented, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, get back to them and just make sure you emphasize the things that we asked that you emphasize.
Thank you, Mayor.
Our next agenda item is not going to require any action at this particular meeting. There's going to be a proposed UDO text amendment regarding density and dimension regulations. We're going to have a public hearing on that on the 27th. And anytime we amend our UDO, even if it's just a small text amendment, we are required to have a public hearing. That should give the general public time to inquire of staff what those amendments are, and also give us additional time to study those before we have the public hearing. And then the actual action would be in February or after the public
It
hearing
would be
on the
after.
27th.
After the public hearing on the 27th.
Okay, so I just asked that we be prepared, just giving you advance notice of that, no action required tonight, but just be prepared to listen to the formal public hearing on the 27th and be prepared to vote on it after that. The next agenda items do have to be handled individually and separately, and there are subsection 3 through 11 under our new business. I would like to make just a real quick general comment before we go into the consideration of these matters. But Assistant Town Manager Dwayne Wilton is here, and he's going to provide us recommendations on each one of these houses. You will recall that we had received some well-deserved complaints about a number of houses in town not meeting the minimum housing ordinance, and we felt like as currently staffed, we may not have the capability to fully investigate those alleged violations in problem houses. And so we contracted with a group called ACE, and ACE specializes in helping towns, and particularly small towns, with their housing ordinances and enforcement of those housing ordinances. And I believe this is the first set of houses that have come before us, Manager Gooden, under this program. But the way it's set up is ACE lets owners of property know that there are violations and gives them the opportunity to correct those violations. If those violations are not remedied, then under our ordinance, we have the ability to come forward and issue particular orders on specific houses. And that's what we're doing tonight, is that correct?
That's correct, Mayor.
So, Dwayne, with that comment to help the general public understand and the council understand what we're doing tonight, I would just ask that you individually go through each one of these houses, and
Before you start going through it, can I ask one question?
you sure may.
How much time are we gonna give these people?
And we can get to that. I have spoken to 2 individuals on this list already, and I can go ahead and speak on that if you would like.
So individually, each one, some of them have, and so you'll address that
Yeah,
when
this,
we talk about each of
I
the
will,
individual properties.
I will, and this, I want to start by
Excuse me,
saying,
Dwayne, I'm sorry, before you, could you let us know which ones are unoccupied, or which ones are occupied? If any.
I have that in a separate document. I will try to, based on the pictures and what I do know about it, I will try to let you know.
Thank you.
And as he,
One formality on this, so we shared the draft ordinances in the agenda packet for each of these. Any that are approved, we have had a discussion with the town attorney for formatting reasons. Any ones that are executed tonight, based on, whatever the criteria is within that ordinance, that these be approved with the one contingency that the formatting for this type of recording with county land records be updated. Dwayne and I have been already working with Hood on that, but we wanted you to at least get the history and context of each of these addresses, as well as what potential next steps could be, so we can alter or change that. These drafts are amendable, but they also need to be formatted correctly for land records. So I want to make sure that everyone understands that.
So if amended, it'll come back to us for.
No, the council can approve it with the contingency that the formatting is addressed for land records to be recorded.
but if there are any amendments, specific amendments,
Right.
that's your question,
We,
right?
Correct.
we can make those amendments. We will mark these up.
We in administration
Yes,
or?
Dwayne and I can make those notes, those changes, and amend those for the recording.
And I will say too, that there are three, properties in the historic district. In previous conversations, so at least we have a new contractor, in previous communications with this, they had, demolition was off the table, but in this ordinance, they put demolition. Well, how that works is an owner in the historic district can apply for a demolition, through the Edenton Preservation Commission. However, they can, table the application for 365 days, waiting on and helping the owner find different ways to be able to fix up an historic home in the historic district. But I'll identify those three, and that was one of the minimal things that we're talking about in this ordinance.
And that's why we have to address these individually.
Right, so go back to the amendment piece,
So based on what you had in the agenda packet, this is the draft text to be recorded. If there is an amendment to these, that's something that we can note, make those revisions.
I think what he's getting at, we're approving something,
without knowing.
and then
after the fact.
amendments, what do you mean by amendments? Because that might be something that has to come back in front of us since we enter this order.
I'd like for it to come back to us, especially for the ones. that
Like, what
are-
type of amendments are we talking about? I'm not sure I'm
Individual
following.
amendments, basically formatting, to make sure it can be,
No, I'm not talking about the formatting.
Okay.
When y'all talk about amendments, are you talking about the formatting?
The formatting is one piece, but say for the first one, if you choose, rather than the ordinance reading, to repair the house within 30 days, if council chose to change that number to 60 days, then that's a simple text amendment that we're approving it with the idea that the repairs to the home be within 60 days rather than 30. We could make that
You're saying
administrative.
if we make that amendment tonight?
Yes.
Okay, I was confused.
Yeah, I
thought you were talking about we entered an order now, and
No.
2 months from now, you guys decide.
That's why I asked
You're
if-
talking about if there is amendments tonight.
Yes.
Right.
We would
That's what I was
vote on
asking
it.
you, like, about
And you've already
administration or
gotten some homeowners that have sent in things
I will,
about.
and I can talk about that in the
Okay,
individual.
all right, yeah, that's fine.
And so, just one quick thing, we, at the end of Dwayne's presentation, as to each address, we need to vote after that presentation and then move to the next one. And then the formatting amendments that Corey is talking about, that's just mainly ministerial. The Register of Deeds office has very strict guidelines on how a document has to look, and the margins and top margin and side margins and all that. That's what you're,
Yes.
when you
Yes,
say
that is the
formatting
formatting.
issues,
Yes.
we're gonna take our order, and Corey and our attorney are gonna work with the Register of Deeds to make sure that our format is correct, because they'll charge you $25-50 per non-complying document that you
That's
try.
right.
Well, and is there any way to negotiate? I mean, some of these houses, maybe not in the historic district, are still historic. I mean, you know, so I hate to,
agree.
I mean, yeah, I think we need to figure out a way, we don't need to be encouraging demolition. I think it's the worst thing we can do
Agree.
as a council, so.
And that's the
you know,
type of amendment that you could approve this ordinance and remove the demolition clause from what is drafted here. Then you could choose to not allow that as an option.
Can we order demolition but stay it for 365 days? Like, didn't you say we had
In the
the
historic
ability to?
district, you can,
In the historic district. But what of the situation like Councilman Costa and Councilman Dixon brought up, what if it's truly a historic house that lies outside? Do we have that authority?
You could amend what is in the ordinance. In this ordinance, if it gives the option of remove and/or demolish the house within 30 days, the motion could be made to approve as is with the amendment to remove that line from this ordinance.
Because if they start fining them, and then we put a lien on it, then we can go through judicial foreclosure, and we can get the house, and it doesn't get demolished.
Exactly.
I mean, that's, all these people that come from other places, they're from other places, and they don't understand Eden at all, and they come and talk big words like demolition and destroy neighborhoods, and, nothing fits from other places here. This place is so unique that we need to guard every single place we got. And I'm not a big fan of these out-of-town experts who try to compare us to Hertford or Elizabeth City or, limos or whatever. I mean, we are a shining star and those places are fading compared to us.
Corey, is there assistance out there for some of these people?
I have used this process to get, applications from USDA, EIC. It's really helped me communicate and, get them to come into the office, me sit down with them, point them in directions to go. We have, just starting this, it's been a year and a half. We work with these people, or tried to, if they work with us along the way, so it's not, this isn't a spur of the moment.
When were they alerted by ACE?
It depends, that's in your packet, so,
Each one separate?
Yeah, each one are separate, and if you look, here, it gives you the initial time period of when these discussions, most of these have been over a year of trying to work with that property owner, occupied or unoccupied, to try to remedy the situation. And for every one of these homes that we're seeing, there are probably 5 to 6 that we've seen major improvements on, just from having the discussion.
Is some of the major difficulty finding the heirs?
there is a few in here where it is a air situation, that, yes, for example, I think one of them, not in this package, but one that you'll be seeing soon has 125, or north of that. So, yeah, that's according to, the tax law that.
But wouldn't that problem be solved with the judicial foreclosure? That's why I think that this, I don't like the idea of demolition. These are nice looking houses. We're trying to have a world that, we don't use all the natural resources. Well, the best way you can control some of these things, the greenest house in the world is a house that's already built, period. Because you don't have to then tear down everything, fill the landfill up, start all over, cut down trees. Most of these houses are nice looking houses that if we could figure out a way that if the owners can't do it, because they're gonna get a big tax bill and we're gonna get a lot anyway.
Well, I've got a question, it's probably directed to the three of you and Dwayne. When we're considering 30-day demolition or 365-day demolition, do y'all know enough about these houses to know which one may have enough significance or may be in a good enough shape?
I can't tell you that
I
tonight.
can speak for one, just because it's very close to my family's homestead, but,
Well, when we get to that, will you point that out to us?
Yeah, I think it also, I'm sorry Lisa Baker's already gone, but I think it also, it shows us the need to expand our historic district too. These are, for the most part, houses built by successful African Americans. And, at a time when, it was a struggle to build a house like this, and they represent something, I think, very positive.
African American owners and African American
Builders,
contractors.
yeah, both, yeah, and I think they're really a part of who we are as a town. And so I don't like this word demolition.
Well, let me
I really wasn't sure that was where we were headed.
Let me propose this just to move things forward. And if we have like some serious reservations or objections to one or more of these properties, then we can certainly pull those out and table that.
Yeah.
But to keep things moving, let's hand it over to Dwayne and let him
I'm
go.
all for that, I don't think the solution needs to be demolition, it needs to be tax, because you're gonna take a lot anyway.
And we've tried to take that stance. We've thought outside the box. Me and our part-time code enforcement officer, we have made private deal. If we had more contractors that were willing to invest, more people willing to take on some of these projects, homeowners that were willing to help, because in certain situations, homeowners just won't respond. You talk to them, there's nothing wrong with the house, when in fact, it's about to fall over onto the next door neighbor's home. We've had a lot of luck, thinking outside the box, but some of these have been, get to the point where we just can't find any movement forward.
and so we tried working, because I know we allocated funds for home improvements, and then we had the thing going on with USDA, so we've gone that route.
Yes. For the people that have reached out to me looking for help, I've given them EIC packets. I cannot, off the top of my head, I could probably think of between 5 to 10 families that I've met with, that I've even talked about state grants through NC, I think it's NC Recovery or NC1, for disaster recovery grants, different things. And there's one actually, I believe it's on Freemason Street or Carteret Street, that is about to have a brand new house because they went through that program, because it was funded there. Took them 2.5 years, but they found it.
Right, and I do know that EIC they were awarded $2 million for home improvements, like literally just last week. So I don't know, maybe we can sit down with, Landon Mason just to figure out, how those funds are, how they can, tap into that source.
Are
I don't
people
know.
helping them fill out these applications, these packets? Sometimes,
Yeah,
sometimes it's overwhelming.
Yeah.
I agree, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, again, USDA can help, which I think their office is in Winton. We've had more than meeting there. I've met with Bishop and everything. I met with him. We met with USDA. We're trying to find ways to help people.
Well, and I think it's, occupied one's different than, as far as, I'm not saying as far as demolition, but I'm saying as far as how do we help the people in there, fix their house up, especially if it's owner occupied.
That's exactly.
And you'll tell us if they're occupied or not.
To the best of my knowledge.
And we appreciate your work too.
Yeah, thank you
I know
so
that you
much.
guys have gone through a lot dealing
Yeah.
with some of these. But I don't know, I'd much rather keep hammering at, some ways and just say, hey, look, we've exhausted all options before, resulting to something as, significant as.
I completely agree. I just.
But any other option
once
would be
it's
Yeah, a demolition should not be on there.
We're required to consider these on a case-by-case basis, so I'd encourage you to let Mr. Wilton proceed
Yeah,
on a
sorry.
case-by-case basis.
Can't we go in and remedy some of the things, put a lien on it, and sort of an anti-demolition by neglect?
This could.
Yeah, I mean,
And that's part of this. So, repairs can be made once a certain threshold is triggered.
okay.
In what
That's
the
good.
ordinance,
Perfect.
the
Yeah,
ordinance
that's
is the starting point, and if you say right out of the gate, the amendment is to remove the demolition piece from any of these, or make that an ultimate last result, I mean, that's something that we will work on. These are the ones that have completely gone cold, that, it is at a stalemate.
It's
Equivalent of a
sort of like
cold
our,
case,
it's sort of like our redevelopment zones.
Yes.
It's the same kind of concept. All right, I'm sorry.
Okay.
No, it's a good conversation, definitely a good conversation. So, Mr. Wilson, if you'll begin with agenda item 3.
Yes, sir. 1318 Paradise Road, to the best of my knowledge, this, and I wish I would have known that before. I could have pulled a list of who had power and who didn't. This was recently owned by a tenant, or not owned by a tenant. A tenant stayed there. It's owned by an out-of-town person, Mr. Nguyen. I believe he lives in Columbia, if I'm not mistaken. We had several complaints about living conditions there. So we started the process, trying to look into it. This happened even before Ace was even involved. So this, you should have a picture there of the house. To the best of my knowledge, it is not occupied now. But the state of it, it's, poor. I don't know, there's no work that I know of that's occurred on this house ever since that I've been here, so.
At what point do you guys know when utilities was last, provided at this house?
Well, we can pull really back.
So at one point it was,
It was
occupied by tenants, like you said.
Yeah, or one tenant, and someone complained about the living conditions. I do remember that.
Right.
But the code enforcement inspector issued this order back in November of 2023 on this house, correct?
This was, so it started,
August 23rd.
August of 23. They did a thorough inspection of the house, and that's when the process started. It was in August of 23.
We've seen nothing.
No activity, no communication with, that I'm aware of, from my office with, the homeowner.
So no intention, there's no intention at all from them, that's what they want to do.
So I struggle to understand, if they haven't done anything in 2.5 years, 2 years, how are we gonna get them to do anything now?
I agree with that. I
We get
just don't
everything.
think we need to have demolition in there. We
No.
need to have, something other
There's
than
gotta be
that.
something.
Well, but if we get the house and rehabilitate or,
Right.
like we did the redevelopment zone, somebody else can take this house and make it great, you know? I mean, I say that, I don't know the condition, I mean,
Yeah.
it might, the sills might be right, but I don't think we know that, we haven't been in it.
I haven't been inside this house in quite some time, probably about 3 or 4 years myself, probably back when it was occupied. It does sit in front of my family's homestead, so it does have some significance because a lot of my family actually used to live here years and years ago. And we recently talked about it, as recent as over the Christmas, I think, holiday. So I don't know, I'd hate to see it go. So I don't know what options we'll have, but I would love to sit down to explore those options.
Yeah, I would support just taking demolition out and try to.
I agree. I'll
If
second
you-
that.
And Councilman Constant, you don't have any financial interest or
No, I
ownership
don't.
interest in this property, I just want to make sure of that. So on this particular one, with taking the word demolition out in the recommendation, are we in a position to perhaps have a motion and second and vote on that, further discussion?
I think so.
Okay,
Second.
we've got a motion and a second. Any discussion or further questions of Mr. Woods? Okay, all in favor of following the recommendation of staff, with the exception of removing the word demolition from this particular ordinance, please signify by saying aye. None, any opposed? Okay,
Yes, sir. So the next one is 203 Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Avenue. This began at the same time, August 3rd of 2023. This is one of the first inspections, I believe. If I do remember correctly, I have not checked, but it is, one of them is occupied that I do know. I have met with Mr. Henry Clay Brooks about this property some time ago. I wish I would have pulled all that information for you, but you wanted it. But he did receive some application, I believe, from USDA and AIC. Like I said, all this is based on the knowledge I have at hand. But I do remember meeting his family and stuff and talking about moving forward. I guess throughout this process, there's been multiple inspections and saw no movement. In my opinion, this is one of the ones that I don't want to see demolished. I think that whole street within the next few years is going to be amazing. And I would love to see these two homes saved as well.
And that's the block between Granville and,
Most.
which is half the houses have sold.
Correct.
And I would entertain any type of person come if he needs help, we'll explore more options and stuff. It's just I think communication got cold.
So is there, I mean, there's an older gentleman that lives in there, is that?
I don't know his age. He's older, yes, sir.
Anybody looking in on him? Is he?
I know he has family in the area, from what I understood at the time.
We definitely need to find him some service.
I agree.
Yeah.
The gentleman that lives there, is he the owner?
If I remember correctly, that was Henry Colley Brooks as the owner, yes. And the person I met with him is family.
Has he got any applications?
I do not know. Once it leaves my office, unless there's communication that he submitted applications, I don't know what goes from there.
Can social services help some of these people too with that type of work?
I don't know the qualifications or anything, but I think that would be an option for certain, people that qualify.
Yeah, I would think we could find some help for him.
Certainly. So if I were to make a motion, it would be to proceed, but to remove demolition from it, then to amend the days, I guess, to give them enough time for repairs. I don't know, what does the group feel is appropriate?
Yeah.
One issue is, he said the same amount of time as the previous house, which is, it was actually declared deteriorated, dilapidated back in November of 2023. I don't want to put anybody out
Right,
at all, especially someone that might have lived there for a long time.
right.
But the fact of the matter is, they've had a lot of time, and nobody can help you but yourself if you don't ask for it.
Certainly. I agree. I think the major difference between the two is one's owner occupied, one's occupied and one is
That's true.
the Paradise Road one is not occupied.
you have a proposed amendment as to the time?
90 days, I think, and as long as we can communicate with us, I think that's fine, and then of course move the demolition piece. So that's
I
my
think
motion.
that's reasonable. Does everyone else have a general consensus on that? So, Councilman Costin removed the word demolition
Correct.
and, changed the time period for compliance to 90 days. And who made that motion? You made the motion?
Just to be clear, we're gonna remove the sentence, remove or demolish the house within X days. That's
correct.
completely.
Okay, with that amendment, I'll call the vote. All in favor?
Right, second.
I second.
Yeah. Greg seconded. All in favor of this particular ordinance with those amendments as just stated, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, that ordinance is approved. Okay, Dwayne?
112 East Queen Street, this is in the historic district. Where demolished will be removed. They can, like I said before, they can apply for demolition. However, Preservation Commission can table it for 365 days in looking at alternate methods of moving forward. But also, I did speak with a contractor today, have a price quote of work that's to be done on this property, and that work will be started soon. And I would recommend tabling this particular ordinance for 90 days to see progress in that property.
And again, this is a owner, this is an occupied dwelling, unoccupied or occupied?
Occupied.
Okay.
Yeah, they actually sent you a list of everything they were gonna do. Okay.
Does that include landscaping and,
Yes, that includes stuff like tree removals. If it warrants going in front of the Preservation Commission, they will go in front of Preservation Commission for approvals.
And you feel good about the contractor and the proposed
Absolutely.
renovations and repairs?
He's
is the owner, okay with?
as far as I know, I'm talking with a contractor and a person associated.
So your recommendation at this time is to table this and we'll review it in 3 months?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Because of communications been reestablished.
All right, do we have a motion to table this? Councilman Turner?
Second.
Okay, we got a motion and a second. All in favor of tabling this particular ordinance for a period of 90 days, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, we'll table that for 90 days. All right,
121 West Peterson Street. This is an air property, I believe. I believe it's also in foreclosure. That's been that way for a while. I don't have a particular date in front of me. This began on July 6, 2023. This is on a street that is seeing major redevelopment. We just saw the Goldie Crick's house get recognized. It's going to be a state landmark. This is a historic house, in my opinion, even though it's not in the historic district. And I'm giving you a lot of my opinions, but I don't think it should be demolished.
Would Gold Springs have to be on the National Register?
Across the street, it's pretty close, and it's pretty close to the property of the town purchased for the new fire department.
Okay.
so you say you believe it is historic or is not?
I mean, given the historic nature of everything around,
Yeah.
He considers it.
I do consider it historic.
Did you say it was in foreclosure? Is that what you
I
said?
believe it's in foreclosure.
Is that
right?
bank or tax foreclosure? Tax foreclosure.
And I can get you more information on that.
How far along in the tax foreclosure process, and I know sometimes we can talk about that today and it's still not done next January, but is a tax foreclosure gonna take care of it? Without action by us, or you recommending we still take action?
I recommend, I spoke with Dave, there's a piece of property that's been in tax foreclosure for 10 years.
Oh, okay.
Is it occupied right now, this resident?
I don't believe it's occupied, but I can get you that information.
And then so to follow up on Aaron's questions, I think what we'll want to know moving forward on these last 5 houses, are they occupied? Have you had any dialect with them?
I haven't had any dialect with this particular one, but I will bring that information, absolutely. Good. There's probably 120 cases that are floating around in my head right now, so I don't want to.
You're doing a great job.
Yeah,
I
appreciate it, yeah.
What you got?
So your recommendation at this time on 121 West Peterson Street?
My recommendation is, as with the others, is on like demolition. I don't think it's going to change being in tax foreclosure the way it is. We can wait, but the house is going to continue to deteriorate. This is one of those situations where you're kind of, I guess you can take action now, fines can go ahead and start incurring, and we can look at going down the judicial, I'm not a lawyer, but the term you use to go down.
Judicial foreclosure.
Well, I mean, because if we tear it down, you're gonna have I wanna just make sure that we're all on the same page. If you tear it down, you have a huge bill to tear it down. And then you have to do judicial foreclosure anyway, because, you have to bring an action to recoup the money and you get the lot. This way you get the lot and the house. It's, we're better off with that.
And that's what, we're playing a lot of catch up here, and that's kind of what was my reservation. The town was gonna be spending a lot of money up front and waiting to recoup money. Right now it's $10,000 to $20,000 to demolish a house.
Yeah.
We would incur that expense while putting, a lien on the property that we might not ever see.
So this one definitely.
We're not gonna demolish any of these, it sounds like, but will you do 30 days or 90 days?
With this particular one, it's not, I don't see it changing within,
Sorry, our motion would be to remove, demolish, 30 days, we start finding them and go on.
I'll second that.
Yeah.
Okay, we've got a motion and second on 121 West Peterson Street. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Corey, did you have any questions on that
No,
that amendment to that?
Yeah,
Are you on board with these?
yes,
Okay.
yes, 100%.
Okay, number 7, Mr. Wilton, 202 East Gale Street.
202 East Gill Street. This is actually on the fringes of the historic district, so it also have that, language that can be demolished, however, COA has to be obtained. Owner occupied, this one is,
He owns the property beside it too, is that correct?
yes, sir.
Is that occupied too?
I think that's tenant occupied.
Okay.
That's what?
Tenant occupied.
So 202 and 204 are owned by the same.
Yes. Any
That's
successful?
on the, excuse
Are
me.
you fine? Go ahead.
That's on the little side, that's on that section of Gale where the lodge is at, right?
Yes, sir, dead end of, East Gill.
On that dead end street, yeah.
Yeah, Mrs. Bird and, their old houses.
That's right.
Yeah, okay.
And we are seeing some renovations being done on East Gill.
I know the owner.
It's owner occupied. Kind of back and forth.
He owns a couple properties, I'm trying to think when I used to take the stand and have to answer lawyer questions and stuff. Communication hasn't been what it should have been or needs to be. I know there's probably a history there with the town, involving, the owner. I don't feel comfortable making any recommendations. Ace made the recommendation. I don't know if anything will change.
When the last time you talked to George?
I've been to his house, he wasn't there, spoke to his wife maybe, or whoever, a female. That was a conversation, and, I've tried to call him a couple times, I think my code enforcement officer Stacy has too, we don't hear much from him.
Any complaints from the neighbors?
Yes, there's been a lot of complaints, generated, both from Church Street as well as East Gale Street.
Well, I'll make the recommendation or the motion that we remove the demolition piece and adhere to everything else within the ordinance.
In this particular situation, is everyone okay with that?
Yes.
I was
Okay.
gonna ask Councilman Bond if
what
he
he
thought you could potentially speak to this person if we gave more than 30 days, or 30 days would be enough
Yeah,
time.
because those are two-story houses, if I'm not mistaken, aren't
This particular one is a one-story house, but yeah, as you go farther down the street, pretty much all the other houses, I believe, are, except for the very end on the right, hidden down.
So I have a question. The house that's all the way to the end on the left, is that one on the list? I know at one point it was.
Yeah, I think it's still on the list.
Right.
I remember having a conversation about that, about a building permit being pulled.
Correct.
And I think the communication was, remember correctly, the building permit was not pulled, but I think it still is up there. Believe me, I would love to work with the homeowner. to
Okay,
figure
I
out
know
the
she's
situation.
eager to do
Yes.
so. Okay, gotcha.
Well, for him, I'd rather do like we doing the rest of them, let's give him 90 days. I don't see cutting him short.
That's fine, that's what I wanted to hear from you.
Yeah.
Okay, do you accept that amendment to your motion? Okay, we've got a acceptance of an amended motion to that effect. Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay,
And that's
all-
remove demolition.
Mhm. And 90 days. All in favor, please signify by saying aye. Any opposed? Okay.
That was for both houses, right?
Well, we need to vote on
Right.
Yeah, I appreciate what you're trying to do. We have to talk about it individually, so let's move to 204 East Scale Street. Do you have anything new to add other than this is tenant occupied?
No, sir. Same situation.
I'll say we make the same motion. Yeah.
I'll second.
And when we say the same motion, is that
Uh,
just,
removing demolition and extend it to 90
90
days.
days.
okay? Is everyone comfortable with that?
Yes.
Okay. All in favor, so we got a motion and we got a second. All in favor, please indicate by saying aye. Any opposed? All right, that one also carries and is approved. All right, Dwayne, 303 East Church Street.
I love this house. Didn't this house used to be a hat shop or something, or a florist? Do you remember that big window?
Is that, I thought that was on
It's,
Oakham Street. It's on Church
it's
Street.
on
Church
Church
corner
Corner.
of Oakland Church, yeah.
Yeah, it's sort of across from the old dental office, you know, little catty
Horton,
corner.
Dr. Horton's office.
Yeah, and it's got a plate glass window, something in the front. Anyway, that's,
Yeah, you're talking right up there by where the old Lashes store used to be. Yeah.
Is that adjacent to Down East,
it's sort of, they park beside,
Yeah.
they park the trucks off on that lot.
So it's a house right beside that empty lot on the
So it's a
corner.
very attractive house.
yes.
All right, so what's the situation on this one, Dwayne?
Yes, sir, this is also in the historic district, right on the fringes of it. This house is, the owner does not live here, it's vacant house. Spoke to the owner when this first started, trying to help her find some help, I guess, in fixing it. What I run into a lot is, unless it's owner occupied, it's hard to find funding, for, improvements, for stuff. I try to point her down the direction of the historic tax credits, and hope she would go down that route. She, called me today, and I believe this, as she mentioned, this is going on, sometime, previous town manager, all this kind of stuff, just trying to help her. And I'm trying to help her, during that time frame, communication got cold, so I told the code enforcement guys, hey, let's go ahead and start this back up, wanna kinda, re-energize her a little bit and see if we can start conversation back up. But she called me today, she, called the tax office.
Can I interrupt? Did she know this was going to be discussed tonight?
Yes, sir.
All right.
She called me today, spent a lot of time talking to her. She, I gave her, she requested a couple numbers for some contractors in the area. I gave her some that worked in the historic district, that would, hopefully, I would check back in. I would, request or recommend that, this be tabled for 90 days to see if we can make some progress with the renewed interest in,
I'll make the motion, 90 days.
Okay, all in favor of tabling 303 East Church Street, please signify by saying aye. Any opposed? And Mr. Wilton, the ones that you are recommending that we table, you have gotten communication and positive vibes from the owner that
Both of
something's going to be done.
both of the two I spoke to today. Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you. Next, we'll move to 513 Coke Avenue.
Yes, sir. To the best of my knowledge, this is vacant as well. I believe this is air property, also in tax foreclosure. This is probably gonna take a structural engineer to look at, talking about being able to save and
I
stuff
think
like that.
this one's in really bad shape.
This one's
Yeah,
in-
this one might not be salvageable.
Yeah, the back end.
Are we going to hear the D word then?
No, I'm not saying that, I'm just saying that this one's in really bad shape.
But if we move to 90 days, would that make any difference?
I don't believe so. This is, like I said, I think this is rare property, foreclosure. I don't think any time frame.
I think we did the other one, foreclosure 30 days, so why would we do that?
Yeah,
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
and possibly move with the fine route and the judicial intervention route that we talked about. So,
Councilman, do you know the owners of that property?
Yeah, they my family.
Yeah, are they still around?
No, they died, mother and father died, and all the kids are in Philly. But they keeping the grass cut and trimmed around the house. They said somebody's supposed to been coming back in. I don't know. I've never talked to them about the house. This is a little blue house, blue or gray house.
Yeah.
Right there by, Tower Place.
Yeah.
Yeah,
okay, I know what you're talking about.
yeah.
Well, this one's
They're willing to sell.
They had it for sale one time.
Yeah, they did, that's
Yeah.
right, I forgot. Yeah,
It was for
they-
sale.
But that was on the property by it, wasn't it? Next to it.
Or maybe it was.
Yeah, I think so.
That was the property next to
Big
it.
lot.
That was vacant property, that was a lot.
Yeah.
That you're talking about, yeah.
There was a lot next to it. The young man that father ran the Stop and Shop.
Jimmy,
Sideropoulos.
his last name?
Sideropoulos.
Um,
Yeah. It's a mouthful. So this one is one that we're gonna move forward on with what amendment?
Your recommendation on this one was to repair within 30.
Would be, yeah, repair within 30, even if you sell a lot, the house is probably gonna be demolished anyway.
Yeah.
That's kind of the goal.
We can give it
Give them 90 days and let them go with it. Let's see what can happen. If it don't nothing happen,
I agree.
If I can get established communication with, the other heirs to hopefully potentially sell.
I'll talk to someone tomorrow and see if they get in touch with you.
Okay.
Okay?
You're making that
Since
motion.
we got that opportunity through Councilman Bond to perhaps open the lines of communication, y'all okay with 90 days?
Yep, okay. Second.
Okay, we got a motion and a second, with the change being, put that out on 90 days. All in favor, please signify by saying aye. Any opposed?
So, and just to make sure, are we tabling that for 90 days, or are we extending the repair structure within the 90 days?
Yeah, the time to repair to 90 days. Okay.
But Simon, that house that you was talking about was the first black florist in Edenton.
Okay, all right.
That's what that was. That's what you was seeing.
Yeah,
Seeing
yeah.
up in the windows
Yeah.
was a lot.
At the corner of Oakham and,
Yeah.
Yeah, a whole lot of flowers and stuff.
Yeah, I remember something in that window as a
Yeah,
child.
that's what you said, a whole lot of flowers. Jones Florist.
You got,
was there a beauty shop next door at one time?
There was a beauty shop, a two-story building set there, cement building, beauty shop and a insurance company, North Carolina Mutual Insurance Company operated that. Beauty shop was upstairs, yeah.
Okay, Dwayne, you've done a good job. You're not done yet, though. 724 Dr. Martin Luther King Avenue.
is this near the cemetery, across from the cemetery? Where is this one?
This is almost
I'm sorry, yeah, I did
line
put that away.
with the Wedgewood Apartments.
As
Oh,
far
okay,
as
it's even
down,
further
yeah.
out. Gotcha.
It's on the right
Yeah.
as you're headed out.
This is the air property as well, not owner occupied, few of the windows are busted out.
Not owner occupied or not occupied?
Not occupied at all.
Okay.
That I can remember. This is, it began, August of 23. No communication I'm aware of with the homeowner or the landowner.
Is there a mailing address that you have for them, that's accurate, that you have?
I have it in my spreadsheet that I have. It's not located up here. I do believe there's a local heir, that lives here, but I don't think that any other families live here.
Does anybody know this property or know any of the owners to give us a, you know the property, you're familiar with?
Family property.
Do you know anybody that you could reach out to that would justify us extending it out to 90 days?
I would try to, again, tomorrow, reach out to someone.
Is that satisfactory?
That would be great, because I'll run into dead ends of phone, numbers and different things and where to do it, so that would be great.
let's at least, attempt it if they're.
Most of them in the city.
Okay.
So for this one, we would remove demolition and give 90 days.
Right.
Yeah.
Is everyone comfortable with that amendment?
Cause I was from a family that owned that land next to the playground.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's right, you're exactly right. And we have their contact, and Corey, you have their contact information.
I think it's a different portion of the family.
Maybe we can,
Yeah, that might give us an inside
Right.
track.
Yeah, I think we need to be proud of ourselves for doing this kind of stuff. It's different than other towns are doing.
right.
And I mean, it's really, it builds community, it saves the community. I really think we need to be, you know, as a council, it's a really good thing.
We gotta finish voting on this one.
Yeah. Yeah, we do have, I believe we have a motion.
90 days. and
Yep,
remove
90 days
demolition.
and remove the
I'll second that.
word demolition. All in favor of this particular ordinance on 724 MLK Junior Avenue, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And that ordinance carries. Dwayne, thank you for your efforts on this. Yeah, we really appreciate it.
Thank you.
One more question from Dwayne. We had 9 today, and I know there's more in the hopper. How many more do you see coming before us in the next 6 months?
I will tell you, I just got some in, over the weekend. I went through and made sure I had all of them straight. We're looking at probably, as fast as y'all wanna do them, another 10 at least that I have already with me. He's trying to finish up the meetings and everything that's required by law. It's hard he wants to close these out before we start any new ones, cause I think we're from like 100 and some, I think we're down to maybe 67 cases, so,
67 or 6 or 7?
67.
And you touch base with all those 67, trying to talk.
I've tried, it's hard to reach out to so many people, and I'm hopefully using this as a catalyst for them to contact me, and I'll be happy to help.
And when you say 10 more in the hopper, within what time period would that be coming before us?
Whenever council wanted to hear.
Is it possible to hold like a special session, because it seems pretty time consuming, I don't want our meetings to be extended, you know, just because of.
Well,
So
what you're looking at today, were the first 3 and then the next group of 6 that have been the longest on this list. And so we plan to take these in smaller bites based on, it's been well past a year. And so you may have some that are 9, 10 months coming up on that. Now we've reached a year, we do want to try to get these in smaller batches.
And if these people put these things on the market, I guess that kind of comes off of this.
And I've had tons of them come off, and we just mark them rated and check it as a success story.
Good, good.
And that's easier, the putting it on the market solution is much easier when you got an individual owner and it's not air property. If it's air property and those heirs are unlocatable and you can't find them, you can't identify them, then that's not a,
Different areas of the country, getting them together to make a decision on.
yeah, that's not a viable option when you have that type of
But if
situation.
you look at what's happening on East Gale Street, I mean, it's really remarkable. I mean, the amount of investment that's going into that.
Okay, Dwayne, again, thank you, and we look forward to the next time we see you on these matters. Our next agenda item is the town manager's report. I'm gonna hand that over to Manager Good.
All right, thank you, Mayor. I'll try to be as quick as possible. There were a total of 3 public comments that we received on December 10th, 2024. To recap these, the first was from Ms. Karen Murray. She had concerns regarding the golf cart ordinance and seatbelt enforcement. I have spoken with the police chief regarding the ordinance, and after my initial review of the ordinance, it appears that it is sufficient, the ordinance itself. I did ask the chief to host an interdepartment training for the officers and as a refresher, and for any new officers, to make sure that we're prepared for the increased use in golf carts as we approach the warmer months. If there are any specific concerns, we do ask the public share them with myself or the police chief, and we wanted to make sure that they had this refresher, to make sure they're aware of what type of enforcement actions need to be taken if they see some type of violation. So Chief and I spoke about that some today.
Is there a requirement that the golf cart have seat belts.
Yes.
And is there a requirement that those seat belts be used while it's in motion?
Yes, yes. Yes, sir. And that's also part of the approval and inspection process for the,
Oh, so there is an inspection process.
yeah.
Police come to your
Street
house
work.
and do it.
Yeah.
Okay. Do we check
Is
that?
there, yeah, is there a sticker, or do you
Yeah.
have a piece of
Yeah.
paper that you have to show?
And the police department's here
There's a
to,
sticker.
So I actually did one
Oh,
this
yeah.
morning. I have a checklist. They have to have insurance on it. They have to have working headlights, taillights, turn signals. Then when they pass the inspection, we get a copy of their proof of insurance, and then they'll have a small blue metal sticker that'll be on the roof on the driver's side of the vehicle. It says Eden Police Department with their number, and we have that on file with the police department as well.
Do they bring the cart right to your location?
Yes, they can bring it, or we can come to them if
Okay.
they'd like to do that. The one today, he was 2 blocks away, so we came to the back door of the police department. I did it right there.
Still got have insurance on it?
Yes, sir.
There is a map or a radius that they cover, is that correct?
yes, but the ordinance also, specifically states what speed limit streets. You can be outside of that, and in what specific streets are, not allowed regardless. That's why we feel like the ordinance and the inspection is sufficient. This is simply an enforcement thing that we need to.
Right, that's what I was going to say, so is there some way that we can figure out a way to enforce it, especially in light of, what transpired? I think that'll be great. That was actually one of my list of things to talk about tonight.
Anything else around that, as far as the, golf course ordinance or enforcement?
As far as time period when you'll be getting together, or when the chief will have that interdepartment meeting?
Well, we've got new hires coming on board, and it makes sense for us to do this in this late winter season before we get into spring and these golf courses start getting back out on the road.
And when that meeting is done, and if and when you hear from citizens about specific concerns, will you report back to us within 30 to 60 days?
Yeah, that's fine.
Corey,
Yes, sir.
new people coming to town, the real estate people know to recommend them, new people go down to the police station with the.
Yeah, I mean, most of the realtors are some of the golf cart permittees
Yeah,
that have had those, and so they're well aware of it, and
okay.
they're able to share that investments.
And maybe once we get our new PIO, they could draft something up and we can post it on the police department's page, social media page as well as ours. That way we're sending something out to the public, let them know, what's required.
Also on the quarterly update too.
That's right. Second public comment I received was from Mr. Hal Murray, concerns around, the paper street list, as well as Harbor Town cruises, as well as the January, town manager's salary. I have emailed the initial draft list of the paper streets to Mr. Murray today. I did meet with Harbor Towns on January 6th, and the group is functioning as intended originally. We are working on a list of events for the group as we speak. And when we talk about the salary portion, that was addressed at the December 10th council meeting. The next public comment that I received was from Mike Dean around free speech zones. I have reached out to the UNC School of Government for information about these free speech zones, to get a better understanding of the concept, and once I have more information about them, I will share this with Mayor and Council. I did get 2 replies back later this afternoon from professors there within the School of Government, specifically about these 2, and I'm waiting to get a little bit more context to provide you guys an update. When we look at items considered time and important, Councilman Miller had asked about phase 2 for playground equipment. I did confirm that the order date was November 14th, and I've emailed the vendor and waiting for an update on the delivery and the installation dates. And I don't have
Think in
those
the
yet.
next 60 days.
I hope so. I don't want to speak for him, but I did reach back out for those 2 dates, so we know when those are getting started. Councilman Dixon did thank all the elected officials, staff, and the large number of volunteers for all the hard work during the holiday season. We've really tried to do the same with the employees and anyone who come in that's helped be successful in this. Councilman Costin asked about the Walgreens sewer smell. Yes, So Public Works, yes, Public Works did smoke test the entire area from Walgreens to Ellis Carpet and Tile. We were able to identify both local plumbing issues as well as some sewer service issues, i.e. the clean outs. These have been shared with the specific locations, and Public Works is working to repair any of the problems that we located that were on our side. Most of these concerns were interior plumbing issues that were identified when we
Right, I heard we
smoke
talked
tested.
about that.
Is it worse at Walgreens? Because that's the only one that I noticed. Is that the worst example? Because I get a lot of complaints.
And it's near the
Calls
perfume
about
counter
that.
too, when you walk in, so, yeah.
Is it, I mean, I went there one time, it was like in a gas mask.
Sandra, like, you're here.
And
I
so-
used to drive through just so I don't have to go.
I did email, council a full list of everything that was found on December the 11th. So, there's a full itemized list.
What's the next step?
The interior repairs or, repairs need to be made by the
By them.
property owner. Any exterior problems that we found, Public Works created work orders and started making any repairs. When I say that, most of the exterior repairs would have nothing to do with the interior scent, but for I&I reasons, if we find
Did
a
you say
road
scent
scent.
or smell?
Aroma.
Yeah. So the clean out caps were the main issue that we found, that we're able to address those pretty quickly.
And again, that's been communicated with the business.
Yes.
It's
And
gonna fix it.
the last item that Councilman Constant asked about was the Harbor Town lease, and that was addressed here tonight. That's all I have, Mayor.
Next agenda item is items considered timely and important, and perhaps due to the hour and the long discussion we had, I think we've addressed anything. I don't want to censor anyone.
I did have one.
All right.
That is important.
Okay.
Pertaining to our planning that I don't think we have clarity as to really what we're doing on Monday. At least once I spoke with some members of council, like, has anything been solidified?
So, yes, to share with council and the general public, I have worked with the folks at Warren Grove that's hosting the, Martin Luther King Jr. celebration at noon that day. I have reached out to them to see if we can walk the conference room down to make sure there's nothing special that we need. I will be sending out the planning session, event details, for our meeting on Friday. And my goal is to have our planning session there at Warren Grove, before the event and be finished up around 11:30, so we can take part in the event at noon.
So
Will we continue into the afternoon?
No, no, I'm trying to get everything done.
So after we're finished, we could go to
Yes.
church, okay.
Yes.
We can't say it in a couple of hours, you have to say it.
So what time do we plan on starting?
I'm shooting for 7:30.
Okay, that should give us 4 hours, that's
Yeah,
plenty of time.
and the good news is, when we look at the planning session, there's been very few revisions from, what we had in January. Most of this will be an update and some very small tweaking.
Yeah, I know I didn't respond back to the email, but that was gonna be my response. I don't think we've accomplished everything up there, so to kind of revisit that list and figure out where
We have some guests coming too, to speak, any other speakers.
Some of our nonprofit executive directors may be there with us for updates, but no one outside our local organizations.
Corey, you stated earlier, but our boards that have all these openings, we're filling some of them on the 27th?
Yes.
Okay. All right. And last thing, because I don't want to ready to go, but everyone asks about Granville Street, finishing it out. Can you just make the statement so it's out on public of
Yep.
what is being done by us?
Yep, and I'm trying to address this
Yeah.
on some of the social media outlets as well.
Yep.
Public Works has received multiple quotes on the section from Freemason to Carteret to tie back into where DOT stopped. This is a town responsibility. It was not let as part of the original project. Before the repairs, the asphalt that was there was okay. From Carteret to Queen was not. The town will work with its local contractor and DOT to get an encroachment agreement to do the repair work between Freemason and Carteret. We have those quotes, and it is
It's
just
too cold to do it right
too
now.
cold. It's just a matter of time.
Is it their responsibility, but we're taking it over, and are they gonna reimburse us?
No, when the project was let, when the project was let, it was only from Carteret to Queen Street because the asphalt from Carteret to Virginia Road was in good enough shape not to receive repairs. So when the town made the sewer repairs down the entire run all the way to Queen Street, at that time, the contract had already been let for DOT contractors on what they were bidding on, and DOT had no plans within their 5 years model to make that 2-block repair. It was not going to be a part of it. And so because of the action that was taken by the town to replace the sewer in its entirety, now those 2 blocks are left for us to.
At our expense,
Yes.
because it wasn't on their plan, and
Yes.
also.
When you say 2 blocks, from Carteret to Freemason, you consider that 1 block?
Yes, that's right.
When
Carteret,
you say-
excuse me, 1 block.
1 block.
Carteret and Freemason.
And that's where it widens at Carteret?
Yes, that's
So
right.
the entire Granville is state,
Yes.
okay, all right.
No,
My fault.
no.
So it is from Queen Street to Virginia Road is DOT's. From Queen Street to Water Street is the town's. That is the way that is.
Okay.
The town could choose to not make any other repairs other than utility patch.
Okay,
Gotcha.
Let's get that.
Yes.
right.
And then try
I
to
think
get it
that's
on
been some
their
confusion.
5-year plan,
Yeah.
Yes.
and we'd be sitting here 5 years later.
Yes. However, we knew that there would be further repairs with DOT or without DOT for that one section. That's why we made the utility repairs to begin with a year ago, once the sewer repairs were fixed, to allow it to be drivable. So the section that needs to be paid, if it's resurfaced, it will be the town's responsibility.
I think they done a terrible job with Granville Street, it's still bumpy. Like that, the section that they did with.
I've heard a lot of compliments.
I had it. Did some of the jobs to say, just
I
because
think
of.
anything is better.
Oh, yeah, it's better than what it was.
So will we have the opportunity to balance the public's desire to get this repaid along the cost and the probability that if we don't do it, it's not gonna be done for another 5 years? I mean,
Yeah,
that has to come back before us, I'm assuming, I hope.
We purposely have set aside what we have from some of our paving funds to make the repairs. I mean, we knew that could be worst case scenario, and that's
Do you
where we
think
go.
the finishing project in Granville will be done before Broad Street starts?
Yes.
Okay.
DOT reached out to Public Works, and that work is slated between March and April for Broad Street.
Broad Street.
If you go ride around some other towns in our area, you come back and ride around Edenton, you'll feel very proud.
And one of the things I want to push out to the general public is an entire town map of what has been paved in the last cycle, and what is slated to be paved, in addition to what we do annually. It is quite a list.
Oh, it's true.
And if we continue to have positive growth in our income tax revenue and our sales tax revenue and those things, I would like to see roads and streets to continue to be a priority for us. And I think everybody else says that.
All right, one more thing for Mayor, I'm sorry.
Okay.
I called 911 on Saturday night after hearing shots about 9:45. I contacted Corey shortly thereafter and was saddened to hear that our shots fired technology did not pick up these shots. Is that correct?
No, no sensor noticed the shots, yes.
I was sitting on the couch with an avid hunter. He said it couldn't have been more than 4 blocks. And it was very loud at my house. My neighbor contacted me immediately. Police was on the scene very quickly in my area. But if this technology that we spent so much money on is not picking up shots 3 or 4 blocks from my house on West Gale, basically Gale and Mosley, then it's worthless. So I don't know what we need to do, but we need to do something, and kind of need to do it right now.
Before we come to the bigger problem, I agree. What's the location of do we ever identify the location?
So I can respond to this. So, the police chief and police department and I have been working on this really hard since October. We have updated a full list of all the cameras, all the shot spotter sensors, And so we want to identify, was it a sensor issue or was it a gap in where we don't have a sensor? So we don't know that answer yet. We also didn't get anything along the perimeter that picked up between, other sensors we have in the area. And so, if one were there and didn't pick something up, something in its proximity would likely picked it up. So our question is one, where did the shot come from? And two, was it near a sensor anywhere along that area?
Is there like a software update that has to go through?
Yes,
periodically?
there are updates that we give. PD is working really hard to make sure we got all that in place. I do know they're working because we do receive multiple other alarms and texts almost daily. PD, is there anything I've missed on camera updates or shot spotter?
We are in the process, we have a total of 50 cameras and, we call them acoustic threat detectors, which is the shot detector. We're in the process of finding locations in the town based on our crime statistics and things like that, where we can put those to make those of better use for a larger spread of acoustic threat detection within the town.
So we don't have 100% coverage at this time.
That is
If you correct.
We do not.
But we do cover.
We cover a large amount in what we would consider our high crime areas within the town, but we still have some voids in that. And that would probably, by you, would be one of those little void areas right now, because under the previous administration, that would have been an area that wasn't the top priority based on our crime stats and our hot zones at that point in time. So now that we've got those hot areas, we're now spreading out to those other areas to get that coverage for the majority of the town.
What would you say, percentage-wise, what is our percentage coverage around town? If you just have to take a stab at it.
I'd say our coverage is probably about 65 to 75%. Now, with that being said, we're also learning with the administration we have now. We're becoming more involved, myself and Captain Michaels. There is certain things that we're learning. So a perfect example of where one of our spot detectors is, it is affected by the pitch of a roof from where it is placed and where the sound travels. So these are things we didn't know prior to, and we're learning that as we get further along in the process. So now that spot shotter has been moved to another area, but so it is a growing process to learn that it bounces off of a building or it bounces off a roof, or so. I mean, it's nothing that's an easy answer. We're having to go through it and learn it.
Our goal is to get to 100% though, correct?
Yes.
Well,
If there are no reliability concerns, so this is the
that's
first.
my thing. 'Cause
Yeah, like
wasn't there an issue before to where, I guess, I remember the past administration saying that the shot that went off was right by the sensor or it didn't go off. So like you said, I just want to make sure that the technology is reliable and it's useful to you guys.
And it has been, I think this may be one of two examples, and this happens multiple times, and we're really getting into kind of a security detail that we need to keep pretty private. And but for us, I think this is 2 times of areas uncovered or potentially a sensor issue. PD is working on changing the locations of some of these to fine tune these things, and yes, we are working towards 100% coverage. So for both.
I think it's great y'all are working on
I
it.
agree.
Shot spotter and
So
cameras.
2 questions, what's the radius of those things?
300 feet.
Yeah, 300 feet.
Okay. And when you say 50, that's like up and live right now?
Right now, up and live, we have, 36? Because we're actually actively started this, we're gonna be picking the new locations, we'll have 50 of them.
Okay. And we have,
We have
it's in the
36.
budget to go ahead and, or we have them already in.
We already have them. Yeah, we already have them.
Already bought and paid for.
Correct.
Yes.
If we need to bring in a tech or representative from the company that sold them, and y'all need that, and we need that, then let's do that.
And that's exactly what we're working on, whether it's the internet provider, whether it's the camera vendor, whether it's the shot spotter vendor, whether it's the software vendor, whether it's the IT needs internally of our network. We are doing a deep dive really on this thing and dissecting it.
Have we changed the ISP yet?
No. Not on all of them. There are some that are still using microwave and some that are on our new provider.
How close are we getting to?
I don't know. I don't know exactly yet, but that's part of what we're
But we're
doing.
moving towards that, right?
Yes,
Because
yes.
The microwave units are the ones that are top priority to get off of microwave and onto the new system. It makes it more reliable, more high def. Those are our priorities.
Yeah.
Well, can we get an update with that? I thought before July 1, I thought that was a discussion that we're having, that we're gonna switch everything over to the new ISP, so we wouldn't run into this reliability issue.
We've had a change in leadership. We have multiple vendors with multiple pieces of equipment. We've had new administration, new staff come on board. We've had a new software provider. I mean, the list of variables that have caused problems is numerous. We are working to fix these problems. Yes.
from a police department standpoint, what is a good time period that you think would be a good time period for you to come back and tell us, hey, we've got, out of those 14 or 15, we've now got 8 or 9 of those installed, or we've got 8 of the microwaves switched over to the internet?
That's probably gonna be a Chief LaFawn question.
Okay.
Because this is one of these
Some of you
situations,
would-
yeah, this is one of those things, like Corey was talking about, we've got the internet, we've got the company that makes the stuff, and then the software technicians, and we've had a bear of a time sometimes getting them to the table. And we've told them at this point here that you cooperate or we're gonna go elsewhere. Now they're starting to cooperate because they realize that.
Yeah.
Thank you for laying it out.
So maybe if you could get Chief and our town manager together and decide a good time frame where you think you would have accomplished enough to give us an update on that.
Yes,
If you
sir.
would.
We can do that.
Okay. Anything else? Okay, I'd like to thank council and staff for being here tonight, and most importantly, the general public. At this time, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. All in favor, I'm assuming. Aye. Adjourn.
list, as well as Harbor Town cruises, as well as the January town manager's salary. I have emailed the initial draft list of the paper streets to Mr. Murray today. I did meet with Harbor Towns on January 6th, and the group is functioning as intended originally. We are working on a list of events for the group as we speak. And when we talk about the salary portion, that was addressed at the December 10th council meeting. The next public comment that I received was from Mike Dean around free speech zones. I have reached out to the UNC School of Government for information about these free speech zones to get a better understanding of the concept, and once I have more information about them, I will share this with Mayor and Council. I did get 2 replies back later this afternoon from professors there within the School of Government specifically about these 2, and I'm waiting to get a little bit more context to provide you guys an update. When we look at items considered time and important, Councilman Miller had asked about phase 2 for playground equipment. I did confirm that the order date was November 14th, and I've emailed the vendor and waiting for an update on the delivery and the installation dates. And I don't have.
I think in the next 60 days.
I hope so. I don't want to speak for him, but I did reach back out for those 2 dates, so we know when those are getting started. Councilman Dixon did thank all the elected officials, staff, and a large number of volunteers for all the hard work during the holiday season. We've really tried to do the same with the employees and anyone who come in that's helped be successful in this. Councilman Costin asked about the Walgreens sewer smell. Yes. So Public Works, yes. Public Works did smoke test the entire area from Walgreens to Ellis Carpet and Tile. We were able to identify both local plumbing issues as well as some sewer service issues, i.e. the cleanouts. These have been shared with the specific locations, and Public Works is working to repair any of the problems that we located that were on our side. Most of these concerns were interior plumbing issues that were identified when we
Right, I heard we
started
talked
testing.
about that.
Is it worse at Walgreens? Because that's the only one that I noticed. Is that the worst example? Because I get a lot of complaints.
And it's near the
Calls
perfume
about
counter
that.
too, when you walk in, so, yeah.
Is it, I mean, I went there one time, it was like being a gas mask.
Sandra, like, you did, you did.
And
I
so-
used to drive through just so I don't have to go.
I did email council a full list of everything that was found on December the 11th. So there's a full itemized list.
What's the next step?
The interior repairs or repairs need to be made by the
By them.
property owner. Any exterior problems that we found, Public Works created work orders and started making any repairs. When I say that, most of the exterior repairs would have nothing to do with the interior scent, but for I&I reasons, if we find
Did
a
you say
broken
scent
scent.
or smell?
Aroma.
Yeah. So the clean out caps were the main issue that we found that we're able to address those pretty quickly.
And again, that's been communicated with the business.
Yes.
It's
And
still fix it.
the last item that Councilman Constant asked about was the Harbor Town lease, and that was addressed here tonight. That's all I have, Mayor.
Next agenda item is items considered timely and important, and perhaps due to the hour and the long discussion we had, I think we've addressed anything. I don't want to censor anyone.
I did have one.
All right.
That is important.
Okay.
Pertaining to our planning that I don't think we have clarity as to really what we're doing on Monday. At least once I spoke with some members of council, like, has anything been solidified?
So, yes, to share with council and the general public, I have worked with the folks at Warren Grove that's hosting the Martin Luther King Jr. celebration at noon that day. I have reached out to them to see if we can walk the conference room down to make sure there's nothing special that we need. I will be sending out the planning session event details for our meeting on Friday. And my goal is to have our planning session there at Warren Grove before the event and be finished up around 11:30, so we can take part in the event at noon.
So
Will we continue into the afternoon?
No, no, I'm trying to get everything done.
So after we're finished, we could go to
Yes.
church, okay.
Yes.
We can't say it in a couple of hours, we need to say it.
So what time do we plan on starting?
I'm shooting for 7:30.
Okay. That should give us,
Yeah.
give us 4 hours, that's
Yeah,
plenty of time.
and the good news is, when we look at the planning session, there's been very few revisions from, what we had in January. Most of this will be an update and some very small tweaking.
Yeah, I know I didn't respond back to the email, but that was gonna be my response. I don't think we've accomplished everything up there, so to kind of revisit that list and figure out where
We have some guests coming too, to speak, any other speakers.
Some of our nonprofit executive directors may be there with us for updates, but no one outside our local organizations.
Corey, you stated earlier, but our boards that have all these openings, we're filling some of them on the 27th?
Yes.
Okay. All right. And last thing, because I don't want to ready to go, but everyone asks about Granville Street, finishing it out. Can you just make the statement so it's out on public of
Yep.
what is being done by us?
Yep, and I'm trying to address this
Yeah.
on some of the social media outlets as well.
Yep.
Public Works has received multiple quotes on the section from Freemason to Carteret to tie back into where DOT stopped. This is a town responsibility. It was not let as part of the original project. Before the repairs, the asphalt that was there was okay. From Carteret to Queen was not. The town will work with its local contractor and DOT to get an encroachment agreement to do the repair work between Freemason and Carteret. We have those quotes, and it is
It's
just
too
a matter-
cold to do it right
too
now.
cold. It's just a matter of time.
Is it their responsibility, but we're taking it over, and are they gonna reimburse us?
No, when the project was let, it was only from Carteret to Queen Street because the asphalt from Carteret to Virginia Road was in good enough shape not to receive repairs. So when the town made the sewer repairs down the entire run all the way to Queen Street, at that time, the contract had already been let for DOT contractors on what they were bidding on, and DOT had no plans within their 5 years model to make that 2-block repair. It was not going to be a part of it. And so because of the action that was taken by the town to replace the sewer in its entirety, now those 2 blocks are left for us to.
At our expense,
Yes.
because it wasn't on their plan, and
Yes.
also.
When you say 2 blocks, from Carteret to Freemason, you consider that 1 block?
Yes, that's right.
When
Carteret,
you say-
excuse me, 1 block.
1 block.
Carteret and Freemason.
And that's where it widens at Carteret?
Yes, that's
So
right.
the entire Granville is state,
Yes.
okay, all right.
No,
My fault.
no.
So it is from Queen Street to Virginia Road is DOT's. From Queen Street to Water Street is the town's. That is the way that is.
Okay.
The town could choose to not make any other repairs other than utility patch.
Okay.
Gotcha.
Let's get that.
Yes.
Right.
And then try
I
to
think
get it
that's
on
been some
their
confusion.
5-year plan,
Yes.
and we'd be sitting here 5 years later.
Yes. However, we knew that there would be further repairs with DOT or without DOT for that one section. That's why we made the utility repairs to begin with a year ago, once the sewer repairs were fixed, to allow it to be drivable. So the section that needs to be paved, if it's resurfaced, it will be the town's responsibility.
I think they've done a terrible job with Granville Street. It's still bumpy. Like that, the section that they did with.
I've heard a lot of compliments.
I had it. It's been so many jobs to say, just
I
because
think
of.
anything is done.
Oh, yeah, it's better than what it was.
So will we have the opportunity to balance the public's desire to get this repaid along the cost and the probability that if we don't do it, it's not gonna be done for another 5 years? I mean,
Yeah,
that has to come back before us, I'm assuming, I hope.
We purposely have set aside what we have from some of our paving funds to make the repairs. I mean, we knew that could be worst case scenario, and that's
Do you
where we
think
are.
the finishing project in Granville will be done before Broad Street starts?
Yes.
Okay.
DOT reached out to Public Works, and that work is slated between March and April for Broad Street.
Broad Street.
If you go ride around some other towns in our area, you come back and ride around Edenton, you'll feel very proud.
And one of the things I want to push out to the general public is an entire town map of what has been paved in the last cycle, and what is slated to be paid, in addition to what we do annually. It is quite a list.
Oh, it's true. And if we continue to have positive growth in our income tax revenue and our sales tax revenue and those things, I would like to see roads and streets to continue to be a big priority for us. And I think everybody else says that.
All right, one more thing for Mayor, I'm sorry.
Okay.
I called 911 on Saturday night after hearing shots about 9:45. I contacted Corey shortly thereafter and was saddened to hear that our shots fired technology did not pick up these shots. Is that correct?
No, no sensor noticed the shots, yes.
I was sitting on the couch with an avid hunter. He said it couldn't have been more than 4 blocks. And it was very loud at my house. My neighbor contacted me immediately. Police was on the scene very quickly in my area. But if this technology that we've spent so much money on is not picking up shots 3 or 4 blocks from my house on West Gale, basically Gale and Mosley, then it's worthless. So I don't know what we need to do, but we need to do something and kind of need to do it right now.
Before it becomes a bigger problem, I agree. What's the location of do we ever identify the location?
So I can respond to this. So, the police chief and police department and I have been working on this, really hard since October. We have updated a full list of all the cameras, all the shot spotter sensors, and so we want to identify, was it a sensor issue or was it a gap in where we don't have a sensor? So we don't know that answer yet. We also didn't get anything along the perimeter that picked up between other sensors we have in the area. And so if one were there and didn't pick something up, something in its proximity would likely picked it up. So our question is one, where did the shot come from? And two, was it near a sensor anywhere along that area?
Is there like a software update that has to go through?
Yes,
periodically?
there are updates that we give. PD is working really hard to make sure we got all that in place. I do know they're working because we do receive multiple other alarms and texts almost daily. PD, is there anything I've missed on camera updates or shot spotter?
We are in the process, we have a total of 50 cameras and we call them acoustic threat detectors, which is the shot detector. We're in the process of finding locations in the town based on our crime statistics and things like that, where we can put those to make those of better use for a larger spread of acoustic threat detection within the town.
So we don't have 100% coverage at this time.
That is
If you correct.
We do not.
But we do cover.
We cover a large amount in what we would consider our high crime areas within the town, but we still have some voids in that. And that would probably, by you, would be one of those little void areas right now, because under the previous administration, that would have been an area that wasn't the top priority based on our crime stats and our hot zones at that point in time. So now that we've got those hot areas, we're now spreading out to those other areas to get that coverage for the majority of the town.
What would you say, percentage-wise, what is our percentage coverage around town? If you just have to take a stab at it.
I'd say our coverage is probably about 65 to 75%. Now, with that being said, we're also learning with the administration we have now. We're becoming more involved, myself and Captain Michaels. There is certain things that we're learning. So a perfect example of where one of our spot detectors is, it is affected by the pitch of a roof from where it is placed and where the sound travels. So these are things we didn't know prior to, and we're learning that as we get further along in the process. So now that spot shotter has been moved to another area. But so it is a growing process to learn that it bounces off of a building or it bounces off a roof, or so. I mean, it's nothing that's an easy answer. We're having to go through it and learn it.
Our goal is to get to 100% though, correct?
Yes.
Well,
If there are no reliability concerns, so this is
That's
first.
my thing.
Yeah, like
wasn't there an issue before to where I guess I remember the past administration saying that the shot that went off is right by the sensor, but it didn't go off. So like you said, I just want to make sure that the technology is reliable and it's, you know, it's useful to you guys.
And it has been, I think this may be one of two examples, and this happens multiple times, and we're really getting into kind of a security detail that we need to keep pretty private. And, but for us, I think this is 2 times of areas uncovered or potentially a sensor issue. PD is working on changing the locations of some of these to fine tune these things, and yes, we are working towards 100% coverage. So for both.
I think it's great y'all are working on
I
it.
agree.
Shot spotter and
So
cameras.
2 questions, what's the radius of those things?
300 feet.
Yeah, 300 feet.
Okay. And when you say 50, that's like up and live right now?
Right now, up and live, we have, what, 36? When because we're actually actively started this, we're gonna be picking the new locations, we'll have 50 of them.
Okay. And we have,
We have
it's in the
36.
budget to go ahead and, or we have them already in.
We already have them. Yeah, we already have them.
Already bought and paid for, correct?
Yes.
If we need to bring in a tech or representative from the company that sold them, and y'all need that, and we need that, then let's do that.
And that's exactly what we're working on, whether it's the internet provider, whether it's the camera vendor, whether it's the shot spotter vendor, whether it's the software vendor, whether it's the IT needs internally of our network. We are doing a deep dive really on this thing and dissecting it.
Have we changed the ISP yet?
No.
Okay, so
Not on all of them. There are some that are still using microwave and some that are on our new provider.
How close are we getting to?
I don't know. I don't know exactly yet, but that's part of what we're
But
doing.
we're moving towards that, right?
Yes,
Because
yes.
The microwave units are the ones that are top priority to get off of microwave and onto the new system. It makes it more reliable, more high def. Those are our priorities.
Yeah.
Well, can we get an update with that? I thought before July 1, I thought that was a discussion that we're having, that we're gonna switch everything over to the new ISP, so we wouldn't run into this reliability issue.
We've had a change in leadership. We have multiple vendors with multiple pieces of equipment. We've had new administration, new staff come on board. We've had a new software provider. I mean, the list of variables that have caused problems is numerous. We are working to fix these problems. Yes.
from a police department standpoint, what is a good time period that you think would be a good time period for you to come back and tell us, hey, we've got, out of those 14 or 15, we've now got 8 or 9 of those installed, or we've got 8 of the microwaves switched over to the internet?
That's probably gonna be a Chief LaFawn question.
Okay.
Because this is one of these
So
things,
you
like-
just-
yeah, this is one of those things, like Corey was talking about, we've got the internet, we've got the company that makes the stuff, and then the software technicians, and we've had a bear of a time sometimes getting them to the table. And we've told them at this point here, that you cooperate or we're gonna go elsewhere. Now they're starting to cooperate because they realize that.
Yeah.
Thank you for laying that out.
So maybe if you could get Chief and our town manager together and decide a good time frame where you think you would have accomplished enough to give us an update on that.
Yes,
If you
sir.
would.
We can do that.
Okay. Anything else? Okay, I'd like to thank council and staff for being here tonight, and most importantly, the general public. At this time, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. All in favor, I'm assuming. Aye. Adjourn.